Donald Trump seems to have actually colluded with the Iranians. The President of the United States unexpectedly stated that the closure of the Strait of Hormuz by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the demand to pay money for ships to pass through is a great idea. And he is ready to make a deal with the Iranians to jointly block the Strait of Hormuz and make good money from this piracy. Trump calls it a wonderful deal and says that such a payment is a guarantee of safety for oil and gas tankers. Iran has already proposed charging a fee of $1 for every barrel of oil on any tanker. And just think about it, in 2025, about 20 million barrels of oil pass through the Strait of Hormuz every day. How much can you make from that? Do the math yourself. And Trump, it seems, doesn't care that by doing so, he's putting his allies in the Persian Gulf at risk, such as Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait. But that's not all. Trump suddenly started praising the Iranian regime and said that he was ready to cooperate with them. But there were also threats. The US may impose 50% tariffs against those who supply weapons to Iran. My name is Pechiy. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start this episode, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and write any comment you want. And if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation or sponsorship on YouTube. All the links and details on how to support Pechiy's channel are in the description of this video or by the QR code on your screens. And subscribe to my Telegram channel Pechiy News. The link to it is also in the description of this video. So, the U.S. will closely cooperate with Tehran, U.S. President Donald Trump said on Wednesday after announcing a 2-week ceasefire. Trump believes that there has been a fruitful regime change in Iran, and according to Trump, Washington will discuss with Tehran the easing of trade tariffs and sanctions against Iran, since many of the 15 points of the peace deal with Iran are allegedly already agreed upon. Well, I'll just give you a quote from Trump. The United States will work closely with Iran. Iran, which, as we have established, has undergone a regime change that will prove to be quite productive. There will be no uranium enrichment, and the United States, acting together with Iran, will dig up and remove all the deeply buried nuclear waste left by B-2 bombers. Now, as before, our space forces are conducting very thorough satellite surveillance of this. Since the attack, nothing has been touched. We are holding and will continue to hold negotiations with Iran about lifting tariffs and sanctions. Many of the 15 points of our plan have already been agreed upon. Trump also threatened the allies of the Islamic Republic who decide to provide military assistance to Tehran. Quote, any country supplying Iran with military weapons will immediately be subject to a 50% tariff on all goods sold to the United States of America, starting today. No exceptions or exemptions. There will be no benefits. I recommend remembering this phrase. There will be no exceptions or benefits. Because who is supplying weapons to Iran? Russia and China. But that's a proven fact. So far, there don't seem to be any tariffs against Russia and China, or as they say, that's different. But what was even more shocking was Donald Trump's sudden U-turn regarding the Hormuz Strait. You all clearly remember how not so long ago on April 5th, Donald Trump was hysterically demanding that Iran open the Hormuz Strait. At that time, he wrote the following, quote, Tuesday will be the day of power plants and the day of bridges, all at once in Iran. You haven't seen anything like this before. Open the damn strait. You crazy bastards, otherwise you'll live in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. But a couple of days go by. All of Donald Trump's ultimatums and deadlines remain only on his social media. And suddenly, Trump drastically changes his rhetoric. There's no need to open the strait anymore. Now Trump wants to make money from it together with the Iranians. Donald Trump stated that he doesn't mind if Iran blocks the Hormuz Strait and charges a fee to ships passing through it, and he suggested creating a joint American-Iranian enterprise for these purposes. In an interview with NBC journalist Jonathan Karl, Trump said, quote, "We are considering doing this as part of a joint venture. This is a way to ensure the security of the strait, including protecting it from many other countries. This is a great idea." Here's the main question. Which other countries did Trump decide to protect the Hormuz Strait from by charging tankers? Let's remember. Before the US and Israeli war against Iran began on February 28, the Hormuz Strait was open, and civilian ships, hundreds of them, sailed back and forth absolutely safely. In the Hormuz Strait, unlike the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, it was relatively safe. There wasn't even a hint that any of these tankers were threatened here. Then Donald Trump, the President of the United States, starts a war, and Iran immediately blocks the Hormuz Strait, even managing to attack several civilian tankers with missiles and drones. So the only threat to these tankers is Iran. Well, that's because shipping stopped since the regime in Tehran threatened them with missile and drone attacks. Trump very loudly and menacingly, sometimes hysterically, demanded that all this be stopped, and even demanded that allies send their warships to the Strait of Hormuz to protect ships from the only threat, from Iran. Now Donald Trump claims that he, together with that very Iran, will collect money from passing ships to protect them from whom? From Iran? But no. Trump will be making a deal with Iran. Then from whom? Protect from whom? And again, it should be understood that before Trump started the war, there was no problem in this strait. And I don't know how the Gulf countries, who have always been sure that the US is their ally, will react to this now, especially since now the US will also be collecting tribute from them for solving a problem that Donald Trump himself created. And what is Iran doing at this moment? At this moment, when Trump announced a ceasefire and basically entered into a deal with the Iranians, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps attacked the oil pipeline that allowed Saudi Arabia to supply oil bypassing the Strait of Hormuz. We're talking about the East-West oil pipeline, which delivers oil from the Persian Gulf to the Red Sea across the entire Arabian Peninsula. The strike hit one of the pumping stations along the 1,200-kilometer route, which is called the economic artery of the kingdom. The attack happened just a few hours after Iran and the US announced a ceasefire. And here's the thing. If Saudi Arabia loses the critical oil pipeline that Iran attacked today, then the only route through which Riyadh will be able to sell its oil is the Strait of Hormuz, where Iran will charge a fee for tanker passage. And Trump says that's a great idea, and he'd like to make money off it too. And already on Friday, April 10, direct negotiations between the US and Iran will begin in Pakistan. According to the FARS agency, the Iranian list of demands for ending the war includes the US renouncing aggression, Iran retaining control over the Hormuz Strait, recognition of Tehran's right to enrich uranium, lifting all primary and secondary sanctions, ending all UN Security Council and Board of Governors resolutions, paying compensation to Iran, withdrawing US troops from the Middle East, and ending the war on all fronts, including Lebanon. However, according to the Associated Press, the English version of the document does not include the point about Tehran's right to enrich uranium, and no one is objecting to the issue of the Hormuz Strait anymore. Previously, Trump repeatedly stated that the key goal of the war against Iran is to end the country's nuclear program. After the publication of the Iranian plan, Trump called it fraudulent but did not go into details. Meanwhile, the Iranian National Security Council stated that direct talks with the US should begin on April 10th in Pakistan. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed that the US is discussing such a possibility, but emphasized that it is necessary to wait for an official statement from Trump himself on this matter, and then Trump made one. He says, yes, that's wonderful. It's actually good that as a result of this war, Iran went ahead and blocked the Hormuz Strait. Now it's possible to get a good amount of money from the allies. You can make a decent profit off the allies now. So I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you already know what to do. You can do this by making any donation using the QR code on your screen or through the links and details in the description of this video. I will be grateful for any support you can give. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.